Shall we just call it off today? What are you talking about? We've come this far, so it's time to give up on that idea. Bob, unusually hesitant about his checkup today. While persuading him, I ponder whether it's normal to be nervous facing a new doctor for the first time. As we were talking, Bob's name was called, and I helped him as we headed to the examination room. Linda, please wait outside for me. But I've always been a bother, so just take a break while I'm getting examined. With those words, I was sent out of the examination room. While waiting in the waiting room, after a while, Bob returned, escorted by a nurse. Are you Bob's wife? Please come this way. For some reason, only I was called by the nurse to a different room. Is there something wrong? In the separate room, I tentatively asked the doctor. Go to the police immediately. What? At this rate. I was stunned by the words that came out of his mouth. And so, I quickly took action. My name is Linda. I'm a 28-year-old part-time housewife. I have a husband, Bob, and an 8-year-old daughter, Emily. However, Emily and I are not related by blood. I'm in my first marriage, but Bob has been married before, and Emily is his child from that relationship. Are you sure it's okay? I already have a child, and on top of that, I'm also. Bob hesitated as he spoke, and I responded with a smile, don't worry about it. Bob is blind. Apparently, he used to see but became blind while protecting his ex-wife in an accident. I met him through my job. I draw webcomics, and one day, I received a request, could you draw this story? It was a novel written by Bob. I wanted everyone to know that there are things a blind person can still do. Plus, I need to work to support Emily. That heartfelt content was about his life after becoming blind. Moved by his story, I was delighted to turn it into a comic. Then, the editor contacted me, saying, the author of the novel would very much like to meet you, and we arranged to meet at a cafe. Accompanied by Emily, he arrived. He smiled gently, a serene presence, and I was quickly drawn to him. I want to be your help too. I want to be your eyes. I've wanted to be with you for a long time too. I love your voice, it's very comforting. He told me he fell in love with my voice, and that's how we started dating. Hey, Emily, would it be okay if I became your mom? Yes. With Emily's approval, we decided to get married. My parents were concerned about Bob being blind and having a child. But if that's what you've decided, we'll support you. That's right. But remember, you can always come back home if you need to. Eventually, they came around to supporting me. Knowing they were always there to help, I could embark on married life with peace of mind. Emily, dinner's ready. Thank you. Emily, always polite in her thanks to me. We've been living together since we started dating, but she hasn't quite opened her heart to me. Well, that's understandable. It's not easy to suddenly accept a once stranger as a mother. I hope she'll come to accept me over time. That smells good. Just as Emily was about to say something, Bob came walking along the wall. Emily startled slightly at his appearance. Bob, are you okay? The table is this way. I'm concerned about Emily, but for now, I attend to Bob. See you later. In the meantime, Emily went off to elementary school. By the time I turned around, she was already gone, and I could only hear the door closing. Listening to that sound, I sighed. Is something wrong? Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about how Emily and I aren't getting any closer. Bob looked a bit troubled by my words. Seeing this, I quickly explained. I knew acceptance wouldn't come immediately and believed time would solve things. Thanks for caring about her. Maybe Emily is still wary of the idea of a mother. The woman, Tina, is Emily's biological mother and his ex-wife. As soon as she learned Bob was blind, she left him and her daughter. Abandoned by her real mother. That might be why Emily is wary of me trying to be her new mother too. That's what Bob suspects. I'm sorry, but please be patient with this. Yes, I plan to. Even though he couldn't see, I smiled at Bob's words. Bob also smiled back and said, thank you. Shall we have breakfast? Let's eat well and get on with our work. That sounds good. Both of us work from home, but we have separate working rooms. This allows us to work at our own pace. Will you be cooped up in your room all day today? Yes, I plan to. I'll only go out for meals. Understood. Just don't overdo it, okay? With a smile, I nodded at his words and headed to my working room. By the way, I wonder what kind of work Bob does. I thought to myself. We make it a point not to interfere with each other while working. Therefore, I don't know much about what Bob does during his work hours. He used to write books using Braille, but I haven't heard him talk about that recently. Well, my earnings alone are enough for us to live comfortably, so it's not a problem. He must be facing challenges that I can't even imagine. I think it's enough for me to just watch over him. With that thought, I decided to focus on my own work. A few days later, I was traveling with Bob to a hospital that took several hours to reach by car. I feel bad since you're busy, Linda. Don't worry about it. I want to help. Honestly, I think it would be better to go to a big hospital closer to home. But Bob insists on this particular hospital for some reason. A childhood friend of mine works here as a doctor, and she knows my situation well. He reconnected with this childhood friend when he was brought to this hospital after the accident. She has been a great support to him ever since, even after Tina left him. That's why I've decided only she should treat me. Oh, really? So that your friend is a woman? That's right. I had assumed his childhood friend was a man. Learning that was a woman made me feel slightly uneasy. Even though it's just a medical consultation, the thought of traveling hours just to see a female childhood friend bothers me. What kind of person is this childhood friend? She's kind. She gets along well with her husband too. I felt relieved to hear she was married. A married person wouldn't do anything inappropriate. Then, Bob and I entered the hospital. It's the first time we meet, isn't it? I'm Amanda West, Bob's doctor. Amanda introduced herself with a gentle smile. She was very beautiful and indeed seemed kind. It must be hard for you too, adjusting to a new life and getting tired. I'm here to listen if you need someone to talk to. I felt ashamed for almost feeling jealous of her. What a dependable, nice person she is. I felt that way, and when Amanda suggested, let's exchange contact information if you're okay with it, I was delighted to exchange it. But maybe that was a mistake. Oh, a message from Amanda. That night, a message from her popped up on my phone. Are you really doing okay with Bob? Bob is going through a lot, so you need to hold up your end. What? I was confused by the content of the messages. It didn't seem like something the doctor I met during the day would send. I ended up consulting Bob about it. She always tries to act like a big sister to me. Maybe that's why she sent such messages. According to Bob, she has always been protective, saying, "I'll take care of Bob." She was deeply concerned about our marriage, especially after what happened with Tina. Perhaps that's why she's being somewhat cold to me as a childhood friend. Once she sees that I'm living happily, she'll probably be reassured. That's true. Then I need to make sure we are happy. Bob laughed as I said this, saying, "That's the spirit." Emily seemed to be watching us with something to say. Emily, is something wrong? Nothing. When I asked Emily, she glanced at Bob and shook her head. Then she said, "I'm going to bed first," and went to her room. It'd be nice if Emily could smile a bit. Then, I could hear such a murmur from Bob. When I turned around to this comment, Bob tilted his head with a puzzled I felt a slight unease at his reaction. Can you tell Emily's expressions? Yeah, we are parent and child, after all. I can tell by the tone of her voice. Bob said with a smile. Indeed, being together for 8 years, a parent might recognize subtle cues in voice tone. But how could he respond to my silent turn? Just a coincidence? Is something the matter, Linda? No, it's nothing. Bob, sensing my concern or perhaps puzzled by my silence, asked worriedly. I shook my head at him. Perhaps I'm just overthinking it. I tried to convince myself of that. Linda. One day, unusually, Emily initiated a conversation. Surprised, I managed a smile, making sure she didn't notice my astonishment. What's up? This is for when Dad isn't around, she said, handing me a piece of paper. As I took it, she instructed, please make sure Dad doesn't see it, then hurried away. I heard the front door close, so she must have gone outside. I think she mentioned going to a friend's house. What's this? The paper had a series of numbers written on it. Linda? Has Emily already left? As I pondered the meaning of the numbers, Bob called out to me. I quickly hid the paper in my pocket. Yes, she's already gone. She seems a bit rushed. That's more childlike, isn't it? I hope she acts that way around me someday. Bob chuckled at my words, that would be nice. He seemed unaware of what I had hidden. What's up with you? Aren't you off today? Usually, Bob rests until nearly noon on his days off. I didn't expect him to be awake this early. I was thinking, maybe we could go for a walk together if it's not too much trouble for you, Bob suggested with a gentle smile. That sounds nice. I need a change of scenery myself. You're always working so hard. Just make sure not to overdo it. Bob probably thought I was tired from work. But my fatigue wasn't from work. It was from the stress of dealing with Amanda's messages. Since then, she kept sending messages saying, "Don't trouble Bob." Initially, I replied with, "It's okay, we're helping each other," but since the messages kept coming daily, I've been ignoring them recently. Going for a walk has been a while, hasn't it? Yes, it really has. I memorized the number Emily gave me and discarded the paper itself while on a walk, hoping that I wouldn't have to use that number. A few days later, it was time for Bob's regular checkup, and I spent several hours taking him to the usual hospital. What? Amanda is off today? Yes, apparently she caught the infectious disease that's going around. What was different this time was that Amanda was off. But there are other competent doctors, so we had one of them see him. I'm glad the several hours it took to get here weren't wasted. However, it seems Bob thought differently. If she's not here, maybe we should just call it off today? What? He suddenly suggested this, and I turned to him in surprise. What are you talking about? It's a regular checkup, we need to go through with it. Besides, we've come all this way, let's make the most of it. Bob made a displeased face at my insistence. I calmed him down and had him sit in the waiting room chair. Should we really just call it off today? What are you talking about? We've come this far, so it's time to give up on that idea. Bob was particularly reluctant to have his checkup today. While persuading him, I pondered whether it's normal to be nervous when facing a new doctor. Soon, Bob's name was called, and I assisted him to the examination room. Linda, please wait outside for me. But I'm always causing you trouble, just take a break while I'm being examined. With those words, I was sent out of the examination room. While waiting in the waiting room, Bob eventually returned, escorted by a nurse. Are you Bob's wife? Please come this way. For some reason, I was called by the nurse to a separate room. Is there something wrong? In the separate room, I cautiously asked the doctor. Go to the police immediately. What? If things continue like this, you will be used and eventually discarded. I was stunned by the words he spoke. And to take immediate action, I started moving. After some time, I received a call from Bob on my phone. Linda? Where on earth did you go? Me? I'm at the police station right now, with Emily and Tina. Bob fell silent at my words, speechless for a while. Eventually, in a frail voice, he murmured, "Why?" Dr. Williams told me the truth about you. At that time, it was Dr. Williams who revealed the truth to me. Dr. Williams, who called me aside, said, "Bob can see." What? Moreover, he is not the kind person you think he is. That's what he told me. His words left me truly perplexed. I understand it's hard to believe, but haven't you had any suspicions yourself? Prompted by his question, recent actions of Bob came to mind. How he reacted immediately to my movements, even though he's supposed to be blind. How he moves around our home without assistance and manages his personal grooming perfectly. But what bothered me the most was his relationship with Emily. Emily always seemed concerned about his eyesight, and whenever I talked with her, Bob would quickly interject. It was as if he was monitoring Emily's every move. Indeed, there have been concerning things. What he has shown you is a false person. He's conspiring with Dr. West to deceive you. If Bob's blindness was a lie, it would be strange for Amanda not to notice. Perhaps, as childhood friends, she conspired with him. Bob and Amanda are having an affair. What? It seemed that Amanda's cooperation was not because they were acquaintances, but because they were involved romantically. Digging deeper, I learned that their relationship began during the time of Tina, who was aware of it. Tina, being a nurse, had confided in Dr. Williams and others close to her. She was about to confront them when I heard about the accident involving Tina and Bob. This revelation gave me a bad feeling. I dreaded to think it, but I believe that Bob was involved in causing that accident. Shocked, I was told firmly by Dr. Williams. Afterward, she apparently went back to her hometown and we lost contact with her. I heard that Emily was taken in by Bob. Yes, she's actually living with me now. Bob probably took Emily in to assess child support and to check how much truth she knew. That's why he would check on us when we talked, being extra cautious. Realizing this, Emily wouldn't open up to me and acted like she was running away from Bob. I can't believe this. But some things do make sense. It would be best if we could contact his ex-wife, but it seems she's changed her contact information. Remembering the number Emily gave me, I spoke up. Actually, Emily gave me a phone number. Determined to uncover the truth, I decided to call the mysterious number. The person who answered was, as I expected, Tina. When I informed Bob of this, he fell silent. Ignoring Bob's silence, I continued the story. She was being monitored by your parents. Despite that, she desperately wanted to maintain a connection with her daughter. And gave Emily a contact number for a phone you didn't know about. Emily didn't have her own phone, and the home phone was monitored by Bob, making it impossible to use. I was the only one who seemed reachable. That's why Emily gave me her phone number. With her nurse's keen observation, she found a moment when your parents' surveillance was lax and made her escape. What are they doing? Bob's voice sounded irritated, a tone I had never heard before. It seems he finally showed his true nature. That's why I contacted Emily's school, and now we're all here at the police station. A parent and child are having an emotional reunion right in front of me. Seeing them like this, I feel like I'm about to cry too. Meddling in unnecessary things. What's unnecessary? I did what any person would naturally do. Tina and Emily both were crying when they said, "Thank you so much." Seeing this, my overriding emotion was fierce anger. Separating a parent and child for selfish reasons, and deceiving others for personal gain. Furthermore, that novel which moved me turned out to be entirely built on lies. Learning this truth, I was so overwhelmed with shock and anger that I saw white. She has the evidence that she was confined by your parents herself. Plus, with Dr. Williams's medical report, you can prove that your disability benefits, which you thought were due to your blindness, were fraudulently claimed. Why would you do such a thing? You enjoyed our life together, didn't you? Indeed, I did feel happiness in my life with him. Above all, I married him because I loved Bob. Right. You were just mocking me, weren't you? With that statement, Bob fell silent again. Actually, before going to the police station, I stopped by our house and peeked into his working room. I thought I might find evidence of his infidelity. What I found there was messages where you weren't working at all and were teaming up with Amanda to make a fool of me. That is, the messages described me as oblivious and naive and easy to manipulate. There was a message from Amanda to Bob asking, "Why did you choose such a woman?" To which he replied, "For the money. You chose me because as a webcomic artist I was earning well. You thought it was simple for me to be moved by reading your novels. I was really underestimated." To this, Bob retorted, "It can't be helped." What cannot be helped? As I pondered this, he began to speak unasked. I didn't want to do this either, but I really needed the money, and the only person I truly love is you, Linda. Do you think I can believe that now, after you even planned to get rid of me? What? You saw that too? Yes, besides the messages with Amanda, he had made plans to get rid of me. Bob, who had been living a life of luxury without working by taking the wealth from his ex-wife. Unable to forget such a lifestyle, he found a new source of income in me. A webcomic artist with a good income, and since I work from home, it was easy for Bob to keep an eye on me. Was it to make it look like an accident after you were done with me? That was a joke, I wasn't serious. It didn't seem like a joke to me, so we all rushed to the police. I was in danger of being threatened, and to denounce Bob and his scams. Emily was protected from Bob, and Tina had come to file a complaint about her past confinement and the slander she suffered. You're finished now. The police are already on their way to you. At those words, Bob muttered in panic, "Damn it." Immediately after, Dr. Williams's voice saying, "Running away is futile," was heard, indicating his failed escape attempt. It seems to be over. As I heard the police's voices at the end, I hung up the phone. The police were probably heading to Amanda's place where she was recuperating at home, and to his parents' place as well. It's all right now. I reassured Emily with those words. Thank you for letting me see my mom. She responded with a beaming smile. Seeing her smile at last made me very happy. Afterward, it seems that Emily and Tina truly went back to Tina's parents' house. Their home, being a plane ride away, would be out of Bob's easy reach. Leave that man to me. I'll make sure he faces his responsibilities. By saying this to them, I was able to give them some peace of mind. Emily and Tina returned to their hometown with smiles. As for Bob, he ended up in the care of the police due to his actions this time. The plans to harm me hadn't been executed yet, so there was insufficient evidence. However, the fraud involving the benefits and the situation with Tina was deemed malicious. As a result, Bob was sentenced to prison time. Was he? That's good to hear. Today, I met with Dr. Williams to report about Bob. When I shared the news, he smiled in relief. What about Dr. West? She's being charged for writing a false medical report. Dr. Williams explained Amanda's current situation. It appears she has been stripped of her medical license because of this incident. She has, of course, been ousted from the hospital as well. Moreover, it has come to light that she was involved with multiple patients and was taking hospital supplies home, for which the hospital is now billing her. Furthermore, her husband learned everything and divorced her without discussion. Well, she got what she deserved. Did you get divorced too, right? Yes, of course. My divorce from Bob was also finalized successfully. We had a lawyer mediate, and I've blocked all contact with him. Thanks to that, I was able to get divorced without having to see him. I'm really glad we could at least save you. Dr. Williams said that with a laugh. It seems he had always regretted not being able to help Tina. Just when he was harboring those feelings, he saw me with Bob. It turns out he had been working behind the scenes to help me this time. There was no evidence of Amanda and Bob conspiring, so I was carefully waiting for a chance to expose the truth about him. To see through Bob's lies, a medical examination was necessary. However, Amanda was always Bob's doctor and never let any other doctor handle his case. So, he had been waiting for an opportunity, and this time it finally came. No matter how good his acting was, he couldn't deceive a doctor's eyes. Dr. Williams laughed as if to say he had accomplished what he intended. Thank you so much. If you hadn't told me the truth that day, I might not be in this world right now, I said, expressing my heartfelt gratitude. Likewise. Thank you for believing in me, Dr. Williams replied with a smile. Some time later, I received a message from Amanda on my phone. I forgot to block her. Dozens of calls and messages. The messages said, "You've ruined my life. She tried to take someone else's life first. She has no right to complain." Saying that, I didn't reply and blocked her number. Currently, I am back at my parents' home. They surely don't know where my family home is, and I should be able to live in peace for a while. Linda, I'm about to start dinner. How's your work going? Thanks, Mom. I just finished a section. I headed to my mother with a smile. Soon after, the news was dominated by a certain story. That is, the original creator of that famous webcomic was arrested for fraud. In fact, my webcomic had become popular, and there were plans to turn it into an anime soon. However, it was discovered that the content was all false, and the anime project was scrapped. Because of that, I was criticized to some extent as the author of the webcomic. Nonetheless, since the editors and the hospital defended me, I am now seen as the deceived party and am receiving sympathy. When Bob gets out, he'll have nowhere to go. He has deceived everyone around him for so long. I hope he fully experiences the consequences of his actions. Several years after that incident. Although I had already moved out, I came back home for a small errand. Just then, the doorbell at my parents' house rang. Yes. It's been a while, Linda. I've come to pick you up. Standing there was Bob, who had stopped pretending to be blind. I was relieved. I checked the monitor before opening the door. He started explaining his situation without being asked. He was arrested because of the incident with Tina, had to borrow money to repay the disability benefits. And his parents had moved away after being shunned by their neighbors, so he couldn't return home. The only person I have left is you, Linda. Shall we try to be happy together? I refuse. I firmly rejected his plea. Bob looked hurt. As if he was trying to position himself as the victim, which irritated me. It's your fault this happened. Don't you think about taking responsibility? I don't see why I should. I have no responsibility here. It's all the result of your own actions, isn't it? But, despite my rejection, Bob tried to cling on. As I was exasperated with him and about to contact the police, someone asked him, "What are you doing there?" Bob turned around in surprise. "Ah, you are that doctor." There stood Dr. Williams and my parents, all looking angry. "Did you really come here to cling to her? That's quite pathetic." "Shut up. If you hadn't meddled in the first place. I only did what was right as a doctor and as a person." Dr. Williams responded calmly, despite being angry, as Bob glared at him. While watching them, I called the police. Your selfishness has troubled many people. If anyone should take responsibility, it's you. Damn it. Bob tried to lash out at Dr. Williams. Enough of this. However, he was stopped by my father. My father, who had learned wrestling in the past, easily subdued Bob, who had neglected physical activity due to his years of feigned blindness. Damn. Let me go. Bob shouted, but my father did not let go until the police I had called arrived to take him away. Linda, are you all right? Yes, thank you. I answered with a smile to Dr. Williams, who looked concerned after Bob was taken away. He smiled back, reassured. He really rushed over as soon as he saw that guy. Really? I can trust him with you. My parents said, watching us with a smile. Indeed, we were engaged. Our relationship had grown stronger through the ordeal with Bob, and after his confession, we had started dating. Yes, leave her to me. He nodded in agreement, and my parents nodded back, saying, we leave her to you. Well, now that the moving is done, shall we celebrate in our new home? Actually, today's visit was due to my parents' moving house. It was meant to be a measure against Bob and the likes, but it seems we barely made it in time. Well, I got to see his impressive actions, and next time he comes around, he can taste the despair of finding no one here. Let's go. Yes. As he nodded, he offered his hand. I took his hand with a smile. Some time has passed since then, and today is my second wedding day. Linda, you look beautiful. Thank you, Emily. Emily and Tina made a special effort to attend the ceremony, showering us with blessings. I couldn't become her mother. But seeing her full of smiles like this is more than enough for me. Enjoy today. Yes. Congratulations on your wedding. Her smile prompted a heartfelt smile from me in return. I don't need you guys anymore. Just sleep quietly here. My husband said this and left me and our 4-year-old daughter stranded in the snowy mountains. I didn't even know where I was in the dense forest. The wind blowing against us was as cold as ice, chilling me to the core and making me shiver uncontrollably. "You should follow Grandma," my daughter suddenly shouted, pointing somewhere, but there was no one there. Still, I decided to follow her direction. After all, she has this mysterious power. I'm Emily, a 32-year-old remote worker. I met my husband, John, who is the same age as me, at a mixer organized by friends. John was an entrepreneur who started his business in college and was a great conversationalist. I fell in love with him and decided to marry him, and he came from a well-known local family, which made my friends quite envious. We moved in with his parents right after our wedding, as they wished. His parents were kind people, but his mother was frail and needed care. "Emily, I hear you're a nurse." It was worrying with my wife's condition being so frail. "We're truly grateful that you came into our home. I'm happy to be of help." For this reason, I gave up nursing and took up remote work, which I had wanted to try for a while. I've always loved web design, creating websites, and such. This job didn't have strict quotas and allowed me to work in my spare time. However, what bothered me was that even after 3 years of marriage, we didn't have children. John's business was doing well, with new branches opening due to good fortune. Yet, he seemed to be getting carried away, often out partying, rarely coming home. "Hey, your mother isn't doing too well. You should stay by her side. Even if she doesn't say it, she surely wants to see you." "Huh? You're there, that should be enough." "I'm busy." No matter how much I pleaded for his mother's sake, my husband wouldn't listen. I felt terribly sorry that I couldn't fulfill her wish to see her grandchild, as she became bedridden and was given a terminal diagnosis. "I'm sorry I couldn't bring you a grandchild yet." "What are you talking about? Emily, you've done nothing wrong. I'm just happy to have a daughter like you." My kind mother-in-law was like a real mother to me, having lost my own parents early on. On good weather days, I would take her out for strolls in her wheelchair, and I diligently cooked nutritious foods until they were soft, making them easy to eat, all to ensure she could enjoy her days as comfortably as possible. One day, she called me to her bedside. "I'm glad. Soon, Emily, you'll have a beautiful daughter. She'll be born around spring." "Really? That would be wonderful." I was confused by her mysterious words, thinking it might just be a dream induced by her illness. Soon after, my mother-in-law passed away, and I was inconsolable with grief. After all, I had been by her side every day for the 3 years since I got married. And shortly after her funeral, I discovered I was pregnant. Moreover, the due date was in March, around spring season. Her words came true, and I was more overjoyed than surprised. I couldn't wait for John to come home to share the news. "John, be happy. I'm pregnant." "What, really? I'm not good with kids." "Maybe not now." "Are you serious? If you really want to have it, I won't help. Take care of it yourself. Since you're having it on your own, cover the costs yourself." His cold words stunned me. Considering how he came home smelling of alcohol and perfume every day, I could imagine what he was up to. To him, I was probably nothing more than a convenient housekeeper. But I couldn't give up on the precious life growing inside me. I prepared everything necessary with my savings from before marriage and my income as a remote worker. And as predicted by my mother-in-law, my daughter Lily was born during spring season. My daughter Lily was a beautiful, fair-skinned child, and she bore a resemblance to my mother-in-law. As she grew up, she turned out to be a little unusual. Even as a baby, she would laugh and wave at empty spaces as if she saw someone there. At first, I thought she was just a cheerful child, but around the age of 2, when she could speak a few words, she started talking towards the altar. "Grandma, do you like me? I love you a lot too." Whenever I asked my daughter, "Who are you talking to?" she would just smile. By the age of 3, she often seemed to be conversing with someone in the corner of the room. "Hey, Lily, who are you talking to and what about?" "Well, you see, Grandma said she'll give me the doll from the drawer." "Grandma did?" "She made them from her favorite dress." Feeling curious, I opened my mother-in-law's drawer. To my surprise, I found a hand-sewn doll inside. Watching Lily happily playing with them, my father-in-law nostalgically murmured, How nostalgic. That fabric is from a dress my wife often wore when she was young. She made the doll out of it? She was skilled at sewing. Amazingly, it seems my daughter really can communicate with my late mother-in-law. However, fearing it might lead to something not so good, I kept this a secret from everyone. It was a happy time, but good things don't last forever. Due to my husband's wasteful spending and lax management, his company began to falter. We were surviving on the money my father-in-law provided and my earnings. Eventually, my husband pleaded with his father for a loan. Thanks to that, it seems he managed to somewhat stabilize the company, but could a man who continued his indulgent lifestyle really change? I was skeptical. One day, my daughter said something worrying. Daddy is planning to do something bad. What do you mean? I don't know. But Grandma is worried. She says to be careful. I didn't fully understand, but her words greatly concerned me. What bad things might my husband be up to? Could it be related to his company, or perhaps it's a matter of affairs or money? I pondered over it but didn't have any proof and couldn't confront my husband directly. Just to be safe, I started carrying a voice recorder with me. And I told Lily not to mention to Daddy that she can see Grandma. I had a bad feeling about it. After that, I was constantly worried by my daughter's words, and when I searched my husband's belongings, I found numerous receipts from nightclubs and bars. It seems he hadn't changed his habits, despite the company's troubles and getting help from his father. I also found a concerning note saying, "Consult the family about the plan." Family? Could it mean? If what my daughter said was true, then my mother-in-law was warning us. I felt a chill down my spine, thinking that something dangerous might be approaching me and Lily. For the following weeks, I remained vigilant, but ultimately, nothing else happened. Gradually, my caution was pushed to the back of my mind, and I returned to my normal daily routine. Then one day, unusually cheerful, my husband spoke to me. Thanks to Dad's loan, the company is doing well again, and profits are rising. How about we go on a family trip for the first time in a while? More like, for the first time ever. Oh, right? Lily was so little back then. I booked a hotel near an amusement park in the mountains. Lily will surely be delighted. Is that so? My heart was torn. While I still harbored some doubts about my husband, I couldn't completely dismiss the desire to believe in the gentle expression he once showed me. If my husband has truly changed, this might be a chance to mend our relationship. Having agreed to the family trip, I was getting increasingly excited about our rare vacation as I prepared for it. On the day of the trip, I was shocked to see the rental car my husband brought. It was equipped with snow tires, indicating we might be heading into a heavily snowed-in area, which unnerved me. However, I hesitated to cancel for fear of spoiling his mood and ruining the trip. I silently got into the back seat of the car he was driving, with my daughter by my side. In hindsight, I should have been more cautious. Over an hour into the drive, as we headed deeper into the mountains toward the supposed hotel, the snow began to accumulate significantly. When he turned off the main road onto a mountain path, I became suspicious. Hey, doesn't this road seem strange? Are you sure there's a hotel down this mountain path? Are you sure we haven't taken a wrong turn? My husband didn't respond but continued driving with a grim expression. I started to feel anxious and held my daughter close, biting my lip in worry. Then, suddenly, the car came to an abrupt stop. I don't need you guys anymore. Just sleep quietly here. With those harsh words, he dragged my daughter and me out of the car. Oops, I'm taking your phone too. Wait, please. No matter how much I screamed, he ignored me. As he drove away, he turned back with a sinister smile. Such a thing. We were left behind. Snow blanketed everything around us, and in the dense forest, I had no idea where we were. My cell phone had been taken by my husband, but secretly, I had packed a spare phone in my backpack. Unfortunately, there was no signal, and I was unable to call for help anywhere. From the moment we left the main road, I had a bad feeling, prompting both my daughter and I to wear our down jackets and keep our backpacks on. I had carefully packed for a winter trip, just in case. Despite hoping for the best, I never imagined things would turn this dire. The biting wind was freezing cold, making us shiver uncontrollably. I took out gloves from my backpack to warm us up and gave my daughter a caramel to calm her. As the snow worsened, the fear of being stranded grew. What should we do now? As despair set in, my daughter suddenly shouted, "Mommy, Grandma says to come this way." I looked to where my daughter was pointing, but there was no one there. No, I couldn't see anyone, but it seemed like she could. We should follow Grandma's directions. I decided to follow my daughter as she confidently began to walk. After all, she seems to possess a mysterious power. So, everything will be all right. I wanted to believe that. Carefully, to avoid slipping, I held my daughter's hand tightly as we walked through the snow. "Mommy, there's a light over there. Grandma says to head towards it." Indeed, there was a light in the direction she pointed. "We're saved." At that moment, I felt tears well up in relief. "Thank you," I whispered quietly to my late mother-in-law. Finally reaching the foot of the mountain and finding a hotel, we decided to rest and warm up. Since I had packed extra cash in my backpack, we could afford to stay for a while. During this time, I resolved to devise a plan to uncover why my husband targeted our lives and to prepare for revenge. "Don't think you'll get away with this. I'll find out why you tried to kill us, and you better be ready." 5 days later, I contacted my father-in-law. He was shocked to hear from me, but overjoyed to learn that both Lily and I were safe. He immediately came to pick us up from the hotel. According to my father-in-law, my husband had been telling people that my daughter and I had fallen into a ravine in the snowy mountains and were lost. I was utterly dismayed by his deception. Moreover, he's reportedly been saying, "We've searched but haven't found them, and it looks like we might not find them until spring. It would be pitiful to wait that long, so we should proceed with the funeral." My father-in-law mentioned that he repeatedly suggested, "Let's wait a bit longer." But his son is insistently moving forward with the preparations anyway. Furthermore, my father-in-law handed me something. This revealed a shocking truth. When I went to confront my husband, as expected, he was in the midst of preparing our funeral. Pictures of Lily and me smiling were displayed prominently as our portraits. That's when Lily and I suddenly appeared. The relatives helping with the preparations were so shocked they nearly collapsed, exclaiming, "What? How?" My husband, staring wide-eyed, stammered out in a foolish tone, "What? You're alive?" "Unfortunately for you, we survived," I responded. "How?" he asked. "You thought we'd die as you planned, didn't you? After leaving us in those remote snowy mountains." "What are you talking about?" he deflected. The murmurs among the attendees began to grow. Of course, that would be the case. If everyone believed we had fallen into a ravine in the snowy mountains, but it turned out my husband had intentionally left us there, that would clearly be a serious crime. "Don't make up ridiculous lies," he retorted. "Oh, really?" Even after hearing this, I played the recording from the voice recorder I had hidden, broadcasting his cold words. "I don't need you guys anymore. Just sleep quietly here." The room erupted in chaos as his voice echoed through it. "I never said that. She's setting me up. It's all lies." He frantically tried to deny it, his face pale and lips quivering. To deliver the final blow, I played a video on my phone. In it, my husband was saying, "Everything went as planned. I left them in the snowy mountains. Now I can revive the company with my wife and daughter's life insurance and even have some luxury money. Of course. I'll repay the borrowed money with a little extra, just wait a bit longer," clearly speaking to someone on the phone inside a car. He scrambled to stop the video, but it was too late, everyone had already seen it and began whispering, giving him cold looks. "Why is there such a thing? Who did this?" he demanded. "I asked your father to help me get the dashcam footage copied from the rental car shop you used," I revealed. "You betrayed your own son? Why would you side with these strangers?" He confronted his father aggressively. But his father, clearly furious, glared back menacingly. Of course, he would. "You had secretly insured not only me and Lily but also your father for a high amount without our knowledge. That's..." He faltered. "Family, huh? Did you borrow from dangerous people? And to think you targeted our lives. I'm astonished. My father-in-law stood imposingly before my husband, thrusting a life insurance policy he had found in my husband's drawer towards him while yelling, "Were you planning to take my life too and hoard my fortune? Can I still call someone like that my son?" With no escape, my husband blurted out something outrageous as he gave up. "Look, everyone is alive in the end, isn't that enough? I was forced by loan sharks, it was tough on me too. Please forgive me. Don't make me laugh." "Forgive you? Impossible. I'm calling the police," I declared. "No. We're family, let it slide, please," he begged. Then, in front of us, he began to apologize profusely. My father-in-law and I exchanged looks of disbelief. "I'm sorry. I'm begging you, forgive me. Just spare me from the police. I'll change, I promise." He pleaded, tears and snot mingling on his face, a pitiful sight indeed. "Absolutely not. I am thoroughly disgusted by you. You might as well go to hell," I replied. At that moment, as he stood dumbfounded, the reality of his situation finally seemed to dawn on him. It seems that one of the relatives who had overheard our exchange had called the police, because they arrived soon after and took my husband away. Ultimately, with all the evidence against him, my husband was convicted of attempting to kill his wife, child, and father, resulting in a severe sentence. He won't be coming out from behind bars anytime soon. His company went bankrupt, and even if he were to be released from prison someday, I know that neither his father nor any other relatives would associate with him, leading to a miserable life for him. Additionally, the bad influences who had encouraged my husband to commit his crimes were also arrested. Of course, I divorced him, and I gained full custody of Lily. Furthermore, at my father-in-law's insistence, Lily and I underwent a special adoption process with him and received an inheritance through a lifetime gift. Now, we live with my kind father-in-law, watching over Lily as she grows. While my father-in-law tells me, "Find a good person and remarry, I'll give you away as my daughter," I currently have no such intentions. I am happy as things are now. Recently, Lily whispered to me, "Grandma says she's glad. But she says we won't meet again. She's saying goodbye." It feels a bit lonely, but perhaps it's better if my mother-in-law no longer has to worry about us. I will make sure to keep Lily safe, I promised, as I prayed at her grave today. "Grandma, dinner's ready." "Thanks, Tyler." I said that as I bit into the raw carrot in front of me. I hadn't eaten anything since the morning, so whether it was raw or not didn't matter to me. If I could survive the day, that was enough for me. "There's one more, I'll go get it," my grandson, Tyler, said as he hurried to the kitchen. He then took another carrot from the vegetable drawer and placed it on the plate. That's when my husband, who had been away on business, came home. "Hi, Grandpa! You were home early, it's not even night yet." "Were you surprised? I wanted to see everyone so much, I took the first train back this morning." "Tyler, you're doing great. Is that for your rabbit?" "No, this is just Grandma's usual meal." "What? What are you saying?" Following Tyler into my room, my husband exclaimed, "Kay? What are you eating?" He was instantly shocked at the sight of me gobbling down raw carrot. Rushing over, he hugged me tight. "Robert! Is it really you?" "Of course it is, Kay. You've lost so much weight, what happened?" While confused, Robert gently stroked my gaunt back. "Robert! I've... My long-suppressed emotions came flooding back, and tears poured from my eyes like a flood. I am Kay, soon to be 60, a full-time housewife. This is a story from when I was 55. I have a husband, Robert, who is 2 years older than me, and a son, Alex. At our workplaces, we knew each other. My husband's company was one of the clients of the company where I worked, and he was the salesperson in charge. Back then, my job mostly involved odd jobs and serving coffee to visitors and male employees. I knew him by face and name, but we rarely spoke. That changed about 6 months after I joined the company. On one such day, as he came for sales as usual, he approached me at lunchtime. "Would you like to go to lunch with me?" Surprised by the sudden invitation, I was speechless for a while. "Oh, I'm sorry I surprised you so suddenly." As he apologized looking embarrassed, I hurriedly said to him, "Please don't apologize, I didn't expect you to ask me out. May I join you for lunch?" I still clearly remember how happy he looked then, even after more than 30 years. And I, who had never been approached by a man before, was also ecstatic, a feeling I still haven't forgotten. After being asked out for lunch several times, we started seeing each other on weekends, and we officially started dating on Valentine's Day night. A year later, on Valentine's Day, he proposed to me, and we got married. Upon marriage, I quit my job and soon got pregnant with our son, Alex. Then my husband said, to make sure Kay can raise our child with peace of mind, I think we should buy a house, and he suggested buying a new house. I was thrilled with the idea of our dream home, but I was also worried that the mortgage would be too much for our single-income family. When I expressed this concern to him, he said, "Thinking of the home where Kay and Alex are waiting gives me the strength to work hard. Even if it means more business trips and single assignments." 6 months later, we bought the house we live in now with a 35-year mortgage. Since then, he spent half of each year on business trips. Every few years, he would be on a single assignment for up to 2 years. Although we had very little time together as a couple, the regular calls from him kept my anxiety and loneliness at bay. And the same was true for our son, Alex. No matter how tired he was, he always made time to talk to Alex on the phone. Sometimes, he would fall asleep during the calls, but Alex never got angry. Instead, he was always concerned, saying, "I'm worried Dad will catch a cold. How should I wake him up in the morning?" It seems that Alex was just happy that his father cared enough to call him. Blessed with a thoughtful husband and a kind son, my marriage had always been smooth sailing. Such a peaceful life changed when Alex brought his fiancée, Violet, saying, "I want to introduce you to someone." Violet was a year younger than Alex and worked at the same company as him. My first impression of her was that she was cool and solid. But once she smiled, she immediately became gentle and calm, and I thought Alex must have been attracted to that about her. Soon after they married, the two started living in an apartment near our home. A year later, my grandson Tyler was born. Upon Tyler's birth, Violet left her job to become a homemaker like myself. Now the sole breadwinner, Alex, like his father, began taking more business trips and solo assignments, working diligently for the future of his family. Violet, in turn, also strove to meet Alex's efforts by managing the household and childcare alone. However, Tyler was a child who cried a lot at night. And Violet shared that caring for him alone while Alex was away was a constant battle against sleep deprivation and fatigue. Since Alex had been an easy sleeper as a baby, I honestly couldn't quite grasp the extent of Violet's difficulties. At that time, all I could do was my sympathy, saying, "That sounds tough." I also thought naively, things would get easier once he went to the preschool, so I didn't take it too seriously. However, even after going to the preschool, Tyler was so frail that he missed school due to illness for half the month. The endless cycle of household chores, childcare, and nursing left Violet completely worn out. As a result, Alex increasingly felt anxious about leaving frail Tyler and exhausted Violet behind for his work assignments. One day, when Tyler was 5, Alex called me and said that he was set for another 2-year assignment. Tyler is still very frail. Violet also looks tired all the time, so I'm kind of worried about them. Dad is often away from home for work, just like me. So I'd like to take this opportunity to move in together. I wouldn't mind it, but what about Violet? Isn't she reluctant to live with her mother-in-law? Violet agrees as well, as long as you guys are okay with it. Can you talk to Dad about it later? That night, when I discussed the idea of living together with my husband, he said, "That would be great. Actually, I've been a bit worried about leaving you alone. Remember your hospital stay?" Indeed, about 6 months prior, I had been hospitalized due to food poisoning. I was only admitted for a day for rehydration, but since then, my husband had become very anxious. Violet is reliable, so I feel I can trust her with anything that might happen. Thus, without any hesitation, we easily agreed to live together. A month after finalizing our plans, Alex's family broke their apartment lease and moved into our home. We look forward to living with you starting today. We welcome you all so much. From today on, this is your home too, so don't hesitate to tell us if you need anything. Thank you very much. Despite there being no hard feelings, the atmosphere between me and Violet, who had only ever spent time together during holidays, was still a bit awkward. Thankfully, with my husband and Alex helping to mediate, we managed to find a comfortable distance from each other. After spending a few days together as a family, my husband and Alex left for their usual 2-year assignment as planned. Now, it was truly just the three of us living together. Violet and I decided to divide up the chores. I took on cleaning, laundry, and dishwashing. Violet handled meal preparation, shopping, and general care of Tyler. Of course, we agreed that whoever was available would flexibly handle any other household tasks or step in when the other couldn't manage. Yet Violet was truly a great daughter-in-law. She often finished even the chores I was responsible for, saying, I had some free time, so I finished them up. Even when Tyler was ill and bedridden, Violet never neglected her assigned household duties. After Alex had moved out for work, living almost like a single person, I mentally prepared myself, thinking, living with 3 people means triple the housework, right? I need to buckle down. However, once we started living together, Violet completed most of the household chores, allowing me to continue my relaxed daily life. You are truly an exemplary daughter-in-law. Thank you for choosing Alex. It's nothing. We're living together, so it's not a big deal. At that time, I truly felt grateful to Violet from the bottom of my heart, considering myself very fortunate. But this happiness didn't last long. About 3.5 months into our life together, Violet's behavior began to change dramatically. She was constantly checking her phone during meals and conversations, unable to settle down. Furthermore, the shopping trips she used to enjoy with Tyler on weekends completely stopped, and she would go out alone for hours and not return. Moreover, when housework was delayed or took longer than expected, she began to speak in a harsh tone, saying, I don't have time. Please do it later. I was confused by Violet's drastic change and tried to understand why she had become like this. However, no matter how much I thought about it, I could only think that maybe she was overwhelmed with too much responsibility and stress. Thus, I decided to openly share my honest feelings with her. Violet, I'm sorry if I've been relying too much on you for the housework. From now on, I'll take on more, so why don't you take a break? I intended to show as much consideration as possible, but Violet's response was a nonchalant, what? Oh, I'm fine, really. Don't worry about me. Wondering if I had said something inappropriate, I continued to ask her if she was really okay, and if there was anything she wanted to discuss. But our conversations dwindled, and eventually, she began to ignore me completely. Moreover, Violet took over all the household chores, insisting, please don't touch anything. But the reason she gave was unreasonable. When you touch things, they end up smelling old, which is bothersome. She also completely ignored my meals and laundry. I had no choice but to try to cook it myself. However, Violet was furious with me and wouldn't let me use the kitchen, saying, I told you not to touch anything. In the end, I had to buy food from supermarkets or convenience stores and eat alone. As for laundry, I had to secretly wash it while Violet was out and dry it in my room or use a laundromat. Furthermore, I needed Violet's permission to even talk to or interact with Tyler. The relationship had become so strained it hardly felt like family anymore, and it was wearing me down. The only way to change the current situation was still to discuss it. However, whenever I tried to speak to Violet, she would either ignore me or become furious. Determined to break through, I addressed her more firmly than usual despite her continued indifference. Violet. If you don't talk, I won't know what's going on. Please, talk to me more. Unexpectedly, this approach led to a shocking outcome. Shut up. I told you to be quiet, so just be quiet. With that, Violet suddenly slapped me across the face. I was prepared for insults and shouting, but I had never expected her to actually hit me. Shocked, I was frozen in place. Violet herself seemed very surprised by her action, but ultimately, I remained silent. This incident unfortunately worsened her behavior towards me even further. Initially, I wondered why Violet had changed so drastically. The reason was her affair. Violet's affair was with a college classmate, who was also married. About a year before we started living together, they met again at a college club reunion. Finding common ground in both having families, they exchanged contact details under the guise of being each other's confidant. Exhausted from caring for Tyler and overwhelmed by single parenting, Violet quickly became engrossed in her interactions with her affair partner. Before long, their relationship developed into a romantic one. During her apartment life, Violet neglected household duties to go on dates with her lover. Whenever the house was a mess, she excused it by claiming, "Tyler got sick again, and I couldn't keep up with the housework," and Alex, often away on business trips or solo assignments, didn't suspect anything. Given that Alex was often away on business or on solo assignments, it was impossible for him to fully grasp the day-to-day activities at home. Therefore, he simply believed everything Violet told him. This affair lifestyle took a sudden turn shortly after we began living together. Initially, Violet thought, as long as I act like a good daughter-in-law while we're living together, I can continue the affair as before. Thus, she actively managed my share of the household duties and started to play the part of the good daughter-in-law. However, suddenly taking on all the household chores she had previously neglected for the sake of her affair proved to be a significant burden. Gradually, Violet became overwhelmed with chores, making it difficult to find time for her lover. As a result, her lover's attitude turned cold, and he began to decline her invitations for dates. Her frustration and irritation from this situation were then misdirected at me. At that time, unaware of the situation, I continued to reflect on my own words and actions, constantly seeking ways to connect with Violet. Unfortunately, I kept offering words of concern that were, unbeknownst to me, misplaced. For Violet, who was struggling with her relationship with her affair partner, my attempts to help only seemed like unnecessary meddling. Undoubtedly, Violet must have been thinking, "Just leave me alone." Violet, wanting nothing to do with me, and I, desperately trying to connect with her. In such a mismatched relationship with me, Violet's frustration likely escalated further. Ultimately, this tension led to the point where she slapped me, a situation I inadvertently provoked by pushing for interaction. Violet began to harass me under the guise of a discipline following this incident. "It's your fault I have to dispose of the lunch waste, so as punishment, you're banned from shopping and going out," she declared. Then, she hid my wallet and shoes somewhere. She started giving me excess raw vegetables from the fridge and leftovers from my grandson's meals as a substitute for meals. She even prohibited me from taking baths. As a result, my body odor became stronger. Then, wearing a mask and gloves deliberately, Violet would burst into my room, exclaiming, "You stink," and push me into the bathroom to wash myself in a bathtub filled only with cold water. The gas was turned off, so I couldn't even use hot water. She handed me a ragged towel resembling an old rag, and after bathing, I was sent back to my room with wet hair. Fortunately, it wasn't winter, so I didn't catch a cold, but my body was completely chilled. This forced water bathing continued daily until Violet was satisfied. "I can't take this anymore. I'll collapse if this goes on." One day, feeling my life was in danger, I tried to reach my husband and Alex while Violet wasn't watching. Unfortunately, she caught me in the act, and my smartphone was confiscated. Moreover, as part of the discipline, I was forbidden from leaving my room. Violet changed my smartphone's password without my permission, ensuring I couldn't call for help. She even impersonated me in replying to messages from my husband or Alex, who occasionally contacted me. However, she couldn't impersonate me during phone calls. On these occasions, she would listen intently to make sure nothing suspicious was said. "How's it going? Are you getting along with Violet?" "Yes, of course. Violet is really a wonderful daughter-in-law. So, no need to worry." Desperately resisting the urge to shout, "Help me," I continued to deceive Robert and Alex. As this life continued, the feeling of deceiving my family faded, as did my desire to be rescued. I became solely focused on surviving each day. Eventually, I began to believe that it was my fault I had ended up in this situation. It's karma. Violet disciplining me is my own doing. After 3 months of such brainwashing, it was time for summer vacations. Even when I heard from Violet that Robert and Alex were coming home, I felt nothing about it. So, they're coming back. You know what, just make sure you don't do or say anything unnecessary. Saying hi to them, then stay in your room, okay? Yes, I understand. I'm sick of summer vacation being a hassle. Anyway, I'm off to do some grocery shopping for dinner. Violet complained as she left to prepare for the evening meal for Robert and Alex. At that time, I followed her instructions and stayed confined to my room. I'm so hungry. Glancing at the clock, it was nearly noon. Like usual, I hadn't received breakfast, so I anxiously awaited the meal Tyler would bring me. Grandma, it's time to eat, Tyler called. Thank you, Tyler. I replied as I bit eagerly into the raw carrot he placed before me. With each bite, a crunching sound echoed in my mouth, tasting only bitterness and astringency. Yet, it was still far better than having nothing at all. There's one more left, I'll go get it, Tyler said as he dashed back to the kitchen. He then took another carrot from the vegetable drawer and placed it on the plate. Just then, my husband returned home unexpectedly. Hi, Grandpa. You were home early, it's not even night yet. Were you surprised? I wanted to see everyone so badly I took the first train back. But look at Tyler, doing such a great job. Is this for your rabbit? Not for my rabbit? It's just Grandma's usual meal. What? What are you talking about? Following Tyler, Robert hesitantly opened the door to my room. Kay, what are you eating? Seeing me gobbling down raw carrot, his face expression froze in shock. He rushed over and hugged me tight. Robert! Is it really you? Of course. Kay, you've lost so much weight. What happened? While confused, Robert gently stroked my emaciated back. Robert! I have to tell you. My suppressed emotions suddenly returned, and tears flooded from my eyes. Through my sobs, I told him about Violet's discipline. Shocked by the inhumane details, he was speechless. After I finished, he exploded, such things are unforgivable, and vowed, she will be punished. Then, turning to Tyler who was nearby, he said, Listen, Tyler. Grandpa is going to give Mommy a surprise. So you shouldn't tell her that Grandpa is back, okay? Can you keep that secret? A surprise? Yeah, I got it. I won't tell Mom. Tyler replied before heading back to the living room to continue watching TV. Meanwhile, Robert stashed all his bags into the closet, took out his phone, and waited inside for Violet's return. Minutes later, with heavy footsteps, she came home. She roughly placed the shopping bags in the kitchen, ignored Tyler, and rushed straight to my room. Damn it! Why haven't I received a reply? I'm so frustrated, she exclaimed as she began throwing cushions on the floor at me. It's all your fault. Why did you agree to live together? Normal people would say no. You're so selfish. Take responsibility, she yelled furiously. As usual, I sat quietly, enduring the barrage. I knew if I remained silent, Violet would eventually get tired and leave the room. But today, Violet was different. I'm really sick of having to take care of them for a week on top of it all. Your husband and son, right? Turn them away or do something. You worthless piece of shit, Violet exclaimed as she grabbed a cloth hanger nearby. She raised it, aiming to strike my head with force. Overcome with fear, I instinctively ducked. In the next moment, a loud voice shouted, Stop, and Robert burst out from the closet. Wait, what? Robert, why? He rushed to my side, shielding me while glaring fiercely at Violet. In a tone I had never heard him use before, he demanded, Violet, what is going on here? This is, so, I'm a little frustrated, she stammered, quickly hiding the cloth hanger behind her back. So you think it's okay to throw things because you're frustrated? He asked pointedly. She looked away, her eyes darting around. Well, it slipped out of my hand? Or rather, it just happened. It was an accident. So, basically... Her excuses left Robert exasperated, and he sighed in disbelief. Right then, he called the police. When the police arrived, he presented the videos he had secretly recorded of the discipline as evidence. As a result, Violet was arrested on the spot for suspected domestic violence. Silently, Violet got into the police car. But for a moment, she looked back, her eyes filled with hatred and bloodshot. Watching her, I felt a deep chill. Her face seemed almost demonic. How could someone who was such a good daughter-in-law turn out like this? At that time, unaware of the affair, my mind was filled with questions and regrets. As the police car disappeared, Robert sighed heavily and then made a phone call. Hello? Alex, where are you right now? The person on the other end of the phone was our son, Alex. Now? I'm about to switch trains. Is everything okay? Violet has just been arrested for domestic violence. Grab a taxi or anything, but come home as soon as possible. Domestic violence? Arrested? What? I'm not following you. Alex through the phone sounded clearly confused. Anyone would be if they were told their spouse had been arrested. To Alex, Robert firmly said, "I'll explain everything when you get back. Just hurry home," before abruptly hanging up. A little while later, Alex arrived home, his face pale with shock. Violet! Hey, Violet! Mom, where's Violet? Seemingly panicked, Alex frantically searched the house, calling out for Violet. To him, Robert calmly said, "Violet isn't here." "Alex, we need to talk now, so have a seat." Guiding him to a chair in the living room. And so began the family meeting between myself, Robert, and Alex. First, Robert explained how Violet had been arrested. The story was so terrible that Alex wore a look of disbelief. However, seeing my emaciated appearance, the disarrayed house, and the video evidence forced Alex to accept the harsh reality. Is it really true? That Violet did this to Mom? Frozen in shock, Alex stared at the smartphone screen, prompting Robert to gently offer him a cup of coffee. Silence lingered for what seemed like minutes. Alex finally glanced at me and gulped down the now cold coffee in one go. Then, he turned to me and said, "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't notice it until it had gotten this bad." "Alex, it's not your fault. Don't be so sorry." "No, it's my fault. Living together and what Violet did was my mistake. If only I had been more determined." Alex murmured weakly, fighting back tears. "Alex, there's no use in brooding. You have Tyler to think about. Let's focus on what to do next." "Tyler, right, I have Tyler. I need to be strong for him." Subsequently, Alex decided to divorce Violet. He also chose to sue her for the domestic violence she inflicted on me. However, believing that my testimony and Robert's video evidence might not be sufficient, Alex and Robert decided to examine Violet's smartphone. They apparently found messages between her and an unknown man. Around the same time, Violet told the police that I was in a relationship with a guy I had been seeing before we moved in together. And as soon as we started living together, things didn't work out. I was lashing out, and I couldn't stop myself. Based on this confession, a search of Violet's phone and room uncovered photos with her lover and a diary detailing her emotional state at the time. He demanded a significant amount of child support and a share of their assets after the divorce. Meanwhile, Robert, Alex, and I filed a joint lawsuit against Violet for domestic violence. A guilty verdict without probation was upheld, ensuring that she would be in police custody for several years. There was no sympathy for Violet, who betrayed her family and repeated her cruel actions. I only hoped that during her time in prison, she would reflect on her actions and repent. After the divorce was finalized, we continued to live together to support Alex, who became a single father. However, my health had deteriorated, so Robert took early retirement to care for me. Thanks to his support, I fully recovered both physically and mentally. Now, I look forward more than ever to picnics on the beach with Tyler. Dad, next time let's go to the beach together. You're right. No longer working alone far away, now I have lots of playtime with you, Tyler. Alex said, hugging Tyler tightly. That reminded me of my husband when he was younger, warming my heart immensely. May Alex find another wonderful woman someday. I continued to secretly hope so in my heart. After Kevin was born, Nathan quit his job right away. Nathan, who called himself a travel writer, barely worked and lived off my earnings, driving around the country at his leisure. One evening, Nathan returned from his travels with a young woman holding a baby. This is my lover, Chelsea, and our child. You can have our son. We're getting a divorce. He was demanding to divorce suddenly with a harsh snort. I'll come back to pick up a petition for divorce of marriage in a week. Make sure you've prepared it by then. A week later, Nathan and Chelsea showed up again, and Kevin and I told them. You can't divorce Mom. Because the car's price, $80,000. You haven't paid it back yet. Nathan's face twisted. Besides, Dad, you've been living off Mom's earnings. Maybe you should wait to divorce until you can support yourself. Chelsea looked puzzled. Nathan stammered his excuses. I smirked to myself. Now Nathan, it's time for you to pay for all the freedom you've taken. I'm Olivia, a 50-year-old housewife. I live with my husband Nathan, who is the same age, and our middle school son, Kevin. Nathan and I met through an acquaintance and started dating. Always confident and lively, Nathan was great at conversation and very charming. Spending time with him was always fun. I thought it would be wonderful to share my life with someone like him. I was thrilled when he proposed at a stylish restaurant. But less than a year later, I regretted getting married. We should have kids soon. Given our age, yes. We were blessed with a honeymoon baby, and I was over the moon. Looking back, that might have been the happiest time. Suffering from severe morning sickness, I couldn't clean or prepare meals, but Nathan never complained and took care of me. Olivia, can you eat chicken soup? How about white fish? Fruits are good for you too. Nathan, who wasn't good at cooking, bought ready-made soup, meals, and fruit from the local supermarket and brought them to my bed. He would eat his meals in the dining room to keep me from feeling sick and would come to collect the dishes and wash them. On weekends, he also did the laundry and cleaning for me. Nathan, sorry for the trouble. Thanks for everything. When I thanked him, Nathan smiled and gently patted my head. It's only natural for spouses to support each other. Remember, you're not alone. He was thoughtful, kind, and a full-time employee at a major company. I truly felt fortunate to be married to him. However, the end of our happiness came suddenly. Early one morning, I went into labor, and Nathan took a day off to take me to the hospital, waiting outside the delivery room for our baby's birth. Eventually, the baby was born safely. The midwife approached Nathan with the baby wrapped in a swaddle and said with a smile, "Congratulations. It's a healthy boy." At that moment, Nathan's complexion changed. Wait, it's not a girl? It's a boy. Nathan's expression, which had been full of anticipation, turned into one of deep disappointment. Once we were in the hospital room, Nathan sighed deeply and muttered with a frustrated tone. "Ah, a boy." At the time, I didn't realize the seriousness of the situation. I comforted Nathan with a wry smile. "Nathan, you were hoping for a girl, weren't you? I think the doctor even told you it might be a boy. It's unfortunate, isn't it? I hear there are still families who wish for a male heir from their in-laws. However, neither my mother-in-law nor Nathan seemed particularly eager for a boy. Although Nathan wanted to know the baby's gender, I honestly didn't mind either way. I've always dreamed of being the father of a daughter." Nathan was visibly upset. "Boys are smelly, dirty, and not cute at all. Why didn't you have a girl?" His harsh words made my blood boil. How could I choose that? Even if we tried to select the gender, it's not 100% guaranteed. This is our precious baby. The gender shouldn't matter. How can you say it doesn't matter? Damn it. Seriously, I don't need a boy. With that, Nathan stormed out of the hospital room. He didn't visit the hospital again after that, nor did he contact me, leaving me to be discharged alone. Being far from my parents' home, I reluctantly called my mother-in-law for a ride. Nathan was really looking forward to having a daughter. I can understand why he's upset. I explained the situation, but as expected, my mother-in-law took Nathan's side. You're not going back to your parents, right? I can come and help if you like. Thank you. I'll contact you if there's anything I need. I politely declined with a forced smile. It's a 30-minute drive from my in-laws. I'd rather handle parenting on our own, even if it's busier, than rely on my sarcastic mother-in-law. He's just sulking, he'll come around and start doting on the baby soon. I thought so, but I was naive. A hellish solo parenting life began. Before the birth, Nathan and I had fun choosing baby furniture online and reading articles and books about babies, wondering what our life would be like. But as soon as Nathan learned we had a boy, he seemed to lose interest. After I was discharged, he left everything from naming the baby to the daily care to me and abandoned us. Nathan, just hold Kevin for a bit. He's been crying non-stop, and I can't prepare meals or clean. Even when I begged him after he got home, Nathan wouldn't even look at Kevin and coldly replied, "You know I'm tired from work. Be more considerate. Dinner isn't ready? Then I'll eat out. Baby care is a mother's job, right? I'll overlook the mess at home. Just do the laundry, I need clean clothes." Kevin cried and cried, but Nathan just ignored him and played with his phone. No matter how much I asked, he wouldn't change diapers or handle baths or feedings. And of course, dealing with the night crying was out of the question. One evening, as I watched TV and Kevin started crying again, Nathan showed his irritation. Man, it's so noisy. He's been crying non-stop. He seems sleepy, but he won't settle down even when I hold him. Why don't you take him for a walk? He'll stop crying. I was stunned. It's February, and it's 8 p.m. You want me to go for a walk when it's snowing? Are you serious? When I snapped at him, Nathan twisted his lips into a smirk. Driving would waste gas. It's cold, so he'll stop crying soon enough. Furious at such an unimaginable comment from a father, I grabbed the car keys while holding Kevin, slammed the living room door, and left the house. After driving around the neighborhood for a while with Kevin in the child's seat, I finally heard him breathing evenly from the back seat, which calmed me down. When I got home, I put him to bed in the crib, ignoring Nathan, who was laughing uproariously at the TV. On a day when my suspicions about Nathan were growing, he came home in the early afternoon. "You're home early today." As I fed Kevin his baby food, Nathan casually took off his jacket and said, "I quit my job." Huh? What? My eyes widened in disbelief. I've been thinking, I'm just not suited to be an office worker. Starting a company or working as a freelancer, using my talents. That's what fits me. From now on, I'm going to live freely without being tied down to a company. Nathan spoke with a self-satisfied look, leaving me speechless. Tentatively, I asked, "Do you have a job lined up then? I love driving, right? Plus, I won a writing contest in 3rd grade. I think I have talent. So, I'm going to wander around the country and write travel journals." Nathan's eyes sparkled with excitement, nearly making me faint. After 12 years in sales, he's switching to writing? Nathan hasn't even written a blog, the computer in his study is just for show. He's always been whimsical. Probably inspired by some internet articles. Don't look so worried. In 2 years, I'll be making over $100,000 a year. It's supposedly a job anyone can do. So with my overflowing talent, I'll definitely become a bestseller. I alternated my gaze between Kevin, who was grabbing food with his hands, and Nathan, who was lost in his monologue. I was planning to return to work after Kevin turned 1, but never imagined I'd end up supporting an unemployed husband. That afternoon. First, I need to get the right environment set up. Nathan cheerfully went to buy the latest model computer at an electronics store. While I was putting Kevin to bed and washing the dishes, my mother-in-law called. Reluctantly, I answered the phone. Hello? What have you been telling him? My mother-in-law started yelling at me right away. I don't understand what you mean. He could have had a secure life in that company. Going from an $80,000 annual salary to suddenly being unemployed is unthinkable. That's exactly what I'd like to say. It's because you focus only on the baby that Nathan got stressed and quit his job. A wife's duty is to support her husband, you failure. If you have complaints, please talk to him. I'm busy, so I'm going to hang up now. While my mother-in-law was still ranting, I hung up the phone and ignored her calls and messages for a while. Although I was furious with selfish Nathan, I resolved to work diligently for Kevin's sake. I hoped Nathan might reflect a little when he saw me working hard on housework and childcare, but it was in vain. Nathan locked himself in his study, fiddling with the computer, or would suddenly say, "I'm going on a trip," and leave without contact. Only to return days later. So, I couldn't leave Kevin with him and had to use the daycare at work that also took care of sick children, working as hard as I could. At this point, it felt more like single motherhood than solo parenting. Balancing full-time work with raising a young child was tough. But sharing childcare concerns with colleagues who also had young kids helped boost my spirits. My salary paid for the writing courses Nathan took, and after a few years, he managed to earn $300. However, our household finances still depended solely on my income. Nathan didn't contribute his earnings to the household but used it as pocket money. Even the gas money was coming from me. One day, Nathan returned from a trip in a bright red sports car. What? Where did this car come from? I fell in love with it and bought it. Only $50,000 for this beauty, it's a steal. I was nearly floored. $50,000. Yeah, I got bored with the other car after 2 years. This one's my new buddy. A writer has to have a cool car, right? I held my temples while forcing a smile and asked. Wait a minute. How did you pay for this? You have no savings, right? Don't worry, it's an 84-month loan. You can afford $600 a month, right? I'll be a bestseller soon, so just pay it for me until then. I was stunned at first, but slowly anger started to boil inside me. How can I afford $600 a month? We're already barely making ends meet. Whose fault do you think it is that we're struggling financially? Then, Nathan twisted his face and retorted. Money, money, money. You're so shallow. When did you become like this? Support your husband's dreams more. You're too pragmatic, it's boring. With that, Nathan hurled his anger at me and retreated to his room. Is Daddy back? Kevin, who had just woken up from his nap, stretched and asked me. Yes, he seems busy with work and went straight to his room. Say welcome back when he comes down, okay? Okay. Hey, Mommy. How long is Daddy going to be at home? Well, I'll ask him later. Kevin's sad smile tugged at my heart. Even after Kevin started going to daycare, Nathan wouldn't interact with him and continued his cold demeanor. Nathan would respond if Kevin spoke to him but never initiated conversation or made eye contact. I wondered if it might be better to divorce if this continued. On the other hand, I worried about how Kevin would feel if he knew he was the reason for our divorce. It was hard to make that decision. It had been 15 years since Nathan suddenly quit his job. His monthly income was still just a few $100s. The reason for his stagnant salary was clear. Nathan had mastered the computer and discovered the joy of online gaming. Work was secondary to his gaming habits. On the rare occasions he did make a significant amount of money, he quickly spent it on game credits. And the rest disappeared on clothes and nights out at nightclubs. If he ever brought home a gift, he would brag about it for a while. Those cookies I bought the other day were delicious, right? It's because I'm doing this job that we can enjoy such tasty stuff. You should be more grateful. After finally paying off the sports car loan, I was relieved for a moment, but Nathan quickly sold it and switched to another new car. Of course, I protested initially. Please put some money towards living expenses. Since he's a father, maybe spend more time at home. cut back on spending so much on hobbies, and so on. Then Nathan would become furious, his forehead vein bulging. You're mocking me for my low salary. You think you're better than me? No. I just wish you'd act more like a father. I spoke patiently, but Nathan responded angrily, his tone harsh. Next year, I'll definitely be making $100,000. Then I'll have more freedom, and I can spend time at home and contribute financially. Just stop nagging and wait until then. After many such exchanges, I gradually became tired of arguing and recently gave up on discussions. Perhaps as a reaction to his father, Kevin grew up to be a straightforward and good boy. He always cared for me when I returned home tired from work. He helped with household chores, and sometimes I would wake from a nap on the sofa to find a blanket over me. Or he would surprise me on my birthday or Mother's Day with a homemade dinner and a bouquet of flowers. One evening, while I was preparing dinner, I heard the front door open. I thought Kevin was back from school, but then I heard Nathan's voice. It sounded like he was talking to someone. Maybe a guest? I thought, removing my apron to greet them, but I froze. Nathan was cozied up with a young woman holding a baby. Hi, I managed to say. The woman was dressed revealingly and wore heavy makeup. Nathan must have met her at the nightclub he frequented. But why did he bring her to our home? As the woman entered the house with Nathan, she pinched her nose and made her way straight to the kitchen, looking into the pots. With a pitiful smile and a nasal voice, she complained. Ugh, it smells like garlic. Nathan, it's going to get into my clothes. Sorry, Chelsea. Hey, Olivia. Do something about it. It's okay, I'll endure it. Is dinner this soup? What a pathetic meal. Hey, Nathan. Remember that delicious full-course dinner at the fancy restaurant? The woman bragged smugly, and Nathan's eyes crinkled with pride. Yeah, that place is great. My wife here only makes these cheap meals. It suits her, right? Oh, Nathan, really? I contained my rising irritation as the two of them laughed raucously. Thanks to his meager salary, I haven't been able to enjoy a fancy restaurant dinner in 15 years. I swallowed the words I almost spat out and asked Nathan. And who might this be? The woman, with a challenging look, replied cheerily. Nice to meet you, I'm Chelsea. I'm Nathan's wife. Hey, you're getting ahead of yourself. Nathan said, looking at Chelsea and the baby with a silly grin. This is my lover, Chelsea, and our child. She gave birth to a girl for me. Isn't she cute? She even has Nathan's nose. The baby, dressed in pink, was cradled in Chelsea's arms and stared at me with round eyes. Oh, is that so? And what can I do for you? I asked coolly, to which Nathan smirked. I'm giving you the son. We're getting a divorce. He declared it loudly. I'll come back to pick up a petition for divorce of marriage in a week. Make sure you've prepared it by then. Nathan got tired of you. I'm taking your place. Chelsea arrogantly claimed, despite being the mistress. Nathan, where are you going? This is your home, isn't it? I don't want to live with you anymore. I'll come back after you and Kevin have left. His reasoning was outrageously self-serving. They left, laughing loudly. And the loud exhaust of the modified sports car faded into the distance. Stunned, I finally came to my senses. A fierce anger bubbled up within me. He abandoned his role as a father just because his child was born a boy. He quit his job on a whim, spent his meager earnings on himself. And now he wants a divorce because he has a mistress and a child? Don't mess with me. My blood was boiling. Enough is enough. How selfish can you be? I clenched my fists. If that's how he wants it, I have plans of my own. You've had your way until now, but you're going to pay for everything. A week later, Nathan returned with Chelsea. But this time, the baby wasn't with them. Probably anticipating a confrontation, they must have left her with someone else. When Kevin answered the door, Nathan showed a hint of discomfort. Hello. Nice to meet you. I'm going to be your mom soon. Ignoring Chelsea's overly enthusiastic greeting, Kevin looked straight at Nathan. Dad, you're home. shouldn't you say I'm back? Nathan frowned and ignored Kevin's comment. He led Chelsea by the hand to the dining table and sat her next to himself. As I was making coffee, Nathan spoke roughly. I don't need coffee. Just give me the petition for divorce of marriage. Well, it's going to be a long discussion. You'll want something to drink, I said with a smile, placing 4 cups of coffee on the table. Nathan and Kevin faced each other, with Chelsea opposite me, as we all took our seats. Kevin, being a junior high school student in his 3rd year, was old enough to understand, so I decided to tell him everything. After moistening my throat with coffee, I simply told Nathan. I didn't make the petition. Hey. You don't want to divorce me that badly, huh? Nathan grinned, while Kevin looked at him with disdain. You can't divorce Mom. Because the total cost for 2 new cars, $80,000. You still haven't paid me back. Nathan's face went pale. Don't think you've forgotten. When exactly are you going to repay me? I covered all of it. That's right, Dad. And how are you planning to support yourself if you remarry this woman? Kevin chuckled. Since you've been living off Mom's income, maybe you should wait to divorce until you can support yourself. Nathan flustered severely. Chelsea, wide-eyed, looked at Nathan's profile. What? What are they talking about, Nathan? What's this all about? It's just family stuff. You don't need to know. Nathan stammered, and I presented him with printed payment statements. Look, this is for the previous car, the 84-month payment plan. And this one is for the new car's payments. Chelsea, do you understand? All of these were paid from my credit card. Chelsea checked the statements and tilted her head, puzzled. Why didn't you pay them yourself? I thought you make $100,000 a year as a section chief at Jones Corporation. Kevin and I burst out laughing simultaneously. Seriously? You're still carrying around a business card from 15 years ago? That's practically fraud. Your current job title is unemployed. We laughed so hard we nearly rolled on the floor. No. I'm a freelance writer. You mean a so-called travel web writer, right? Earning less than a high schooler's part-time job. Used to be $80,000 a year. Now about $4,000, right? Chelsea's eyes widened. What? Just $4,000? That's right, look here. Ah, stupid. I opened my bank account statement and showed it to Chelsea. Each month, there were deposits of $400 or $500, all from the same company name, which left Chelsea speechless. So, the brand clothes you're wearing now, those shiny leather shoes, even that luxury sports car, did your wife buy all those? And all the meals you've treated me to were with your wife's money. That's right, look at this. I leaned forward and showed Chelsea the credit card bills. He's been using it without my permission because I hardly use it. I'll pay it back later. It's no big deal, we're family. Nathan shouted loudly. In 2 or 3 years, I'll be making over $100,000 a year. Chelsea, you believe in me, unlike these two, right? Chelsea gave a vague smile. Nathan said the same thing when Kevin was a baby. 15 years later, nothing has changed. Next to me, Kevin nodded. Nathan, you can live together or remarry her if you want. Just make sure you settle the debts for the new car and the unauthorized card use. And don't forget, separate from that, you owe child support for me, Kevin added. Quiet. I get it. Nathan shouted back and turning back to Chelsea. So, Chelsea. You'll lend me the money to repay Olivia, right? Can you give me a moment to think, Nathan? Chelsea's face twisted uncomfortably. I thought it was a reasonable reaction. What? I'll pay it back later, right? We're going to be married, so it's fine. Nathan is trying to push his absurd logic on a hesitant Chelsea. With a laugh of disbelief, I picked up my phone. Now, time to start the second phase of my revenge. By the way, about that hotel he visited for his report. Did you go along, Chelsea? When I spoke cheerfully, Chelsea awkwardly looked away, but Nathan, completely unabashed, grinned. The scenery was beautiful, it was a great place. That's good to hear. You really get it. I said, smiling sweetly at Chelsea. Look, my cousin owns that hotel. He sent me some photos because you two were there together, wanting to let me know about the affair. I opened the photo app and touched the file, placing my phone in the center of the table so everyone could see. That's right. Oh, who is this person with you, Chelsea? Huh? Chelsea stiffened as she peered at the image. Next to her, Nathan, adopting the same posture, quickly turned into a fiendish expression. Chelsea, who is this? Hey. It's an invasion of privacy to take photos without permission. Chelsea burst out, to which I smiled gently. I'm sorry. My cousin couldn't stand my husband's infidelity and ended up taking quite a few pictures. Meddling unnecessarily. Nathan, it was just an acquaintance I happened to meet. Don't worry about it. Chelsea tried to lean on Nathan's arm, which he shrugged off. Chelsea said she wanted to go, so I made the reservation. At that point, Nathan suddenly tensed. Now that I think about it, you weren't there when I woke up in the middle of the night. Don't tell me you went to this guy's room? No, it's not like that. He's really just an acquaintance. Chelsea kept repeating her excuses, making me almost laugh. I took a large envelope from the end of the table and spread several photos across it. Chelsea seemed shocked, covering her mouth and letting out a shriek. These were photos sent to me last year. The scene showed a heavily pregnant Chelsea closely snuggling up to a man as they left a maternity clinic. Hey. I just asked him to accompany me. Trust me, Nathan. Nathan uttered a menacing voice, and Chelsea clasped her hands together, desperately making excuses. I read from the report I had pulled from the envelope. It was a parenting class that day. If you're going to have someone accompany you, it should definitely be the father. Oh. Isn't this the baby from the other day? Wasn't it Nathan's child? Chelsea fell silent, and I smirked. This man, the father of the child, cheated on her and ran away after the birth. That's terrible. Poor Chelsea. As I sneered, Nathan shouted in defense of Chelsea. Chelsea wouldn't do such a thing. Come on, the father of that child is another man? That can't be. I'm sorry. Chelsea apologized in a weak voice. Nathan froze for a moment, his face reddening with anger and shame. So, you lied about it being my child to force me into marriage? Don't mess with me. Nathan yelled at her, and Chelsea shouted back just as fiercely. What? You yourself were drowning in debt and being supported by your wife while lying to me. I have no reason to listen to your complaints. Then Chelsea turned her anger towards me. You're awful too. You knew he was cheating and you let him do it? That's right. I've been watching my husband do as he pleases for 15 years. I plan to hit him with undeniable proof. I said with a sardonic smile. My phone kept getting love messages meant for someone else. He suddenly started dressing up, and he came home reeking of women's perfume. It was all too obvious. Kevin crossed his arms and nodded. When you're at home, you're in such a good mood. I mean, how can you cheat when mom has done so much for you? What kind of nerve do you have? Kevin's face showed deep disdain. I wanted to check out the background of your lover, so I hired a detective agency. They ended up giving me a bunch of extra photos. So I thought I'd share them with you. I told Chelsea and Nathan, loaded with sarcasm. That's right, you always say you're not the type to be bossed around by superiors. Funny you should say that. Considering you were fired for misconduct. Nathan's eyes widened. How did you know that? I heard it from the acquaintance who introduced you to us. I said with a sneer. You invited new employees out for drinks, and on the way home in the taxi, you touched them. They complained to their supervisor, and you got fired. It was only right. Nathan trembled violently. They're exaggerating. It was just a touch over their clothes, and I was drunk. It's not a big deal, nothing was lost. That's despicable, Dad. Kevin said coldly. When I heard that, I felt unbearable. I thought, what a shameful person. It was maybe even more shocking than not being cared for. Really, what do you think of women? Nathan, so you were that kind of person. Gross. Chelsea said, looking at him as if he were something filthy. Hey. I don't want to hear that from someone who tried to pin another man's child on me. Nathan glared sharply at Chelsea. I'm better than what you're doing. Both are the same. The new employees you harassed are planning to sue you, so be prepared, I added. Nathan looked shocked. Huh? Over that? They're not satisfied with just firing you. They've suffered emotional distress and want compensation, I explained. Nathan's eyes widened in disbelief. There's no way I have that kind of money. He yelled, his face turning bright red, which caused Kevin to look disheartened. Dad, you need to take responsibility for what you've done, Kevin said. Poor Nathan, no amount of money seems enough for you. I said with pity, then turned my gaze to Chelsea. Well, Chelsea, if you still want him, he's all yours. I don't want him. What an old man. Chelsea stood up forcefully. I thought he was a division manager at a major corporation with a salary of $100,000 a year, and that's why I wanted him to be the father. She glared at Nathan and rattled on rapidly. But in reality, he's just a liar with a high pride who's been supported by his wife. He's got a bad track record with women and is covered in debt. What a waste of my time. Give me back my time. That's my line. Nathan stood up and shouted back. I don't need a woman who cheats with other men. Don't ever show your face to me again. Then let's break up. Goodbye. Chelsea stormed out of the house, her shoulders tense with anger. As Nathan watched her leave from the doorway and then collapsed to his knees. He sobbed and muttered resentments. It's terrible, Chelsea. You said you loved me, and then you were with another younger man. No man would want another man's child. I scolded Nathan as he hung his head in sorrow. You're facing this because you abandoned your role as Kevin's father but wanted a child with your mistress. Children aren't accessories, you know? Think about Kevin's feelings for once. It's okay, Mom. I don't consider him my father anymore. Kevin said with a sad smile. Also, I've regarded him merely as a roommate for a long time now. Glancing sideways at my pitiful husband slumped on the floor and sniffling, I sighed deeply. I've really had enough, Nathan. From now on, let's communicate through a lawyer. I told him sternly. I've covered the cost of 2 cars and the unauthorized use of my card. Once everything is deposited into my account, I will file the petition for divorce of marriage. There's no way I can pay all at once. Since you haven't prepared the petition yet, we could just not get divorced. Nathan, as if struck by a brilliant idea, lit up his tear-stained face. That way, I can save on child support. Come on, Olivia, I was wrong. Let's start over. I reflexively shoved away the hand he extended towards me. Don't joke with me. After Nathan persistently trying to reason with me, I, along with Kevin, eventually kicked him out of the house. After the divorce, Nathan, having been thrown out of the house, went crying to his mother, who, caring deeply about public image, was furious about her son's infidelity and disowned him. Nathan then moved into a cheap apartment and started working seriously for the first time in 15 years. At the age of 50, he found it hard to secure a permanent sales position, so he ended up in a physical labor job, daily scolded by younger supervisors. Later, after being sued by the new employees, Nathan settled the lawsuit by paying a settlement, which he funded by selling his luxury sports car. However, the funds raised were nowhere near enough to cover the unauthorized use of my card and the cost of the first car I had paid for, forcing him to accrue more debt to settle these. No matter how much he worked, chasing after repayments to me likely left him with little to no money for himself. Chelsea, who had gotten pregnant by a customer. She was fired for breaking the rules and moved back to her parents' house. However, after giving birth, she was disowned by her own parents too. Now, she leaves her baby at a daycare while working at a different nightclub on weekdays and part-timing at a restaurant on weekends, harsh days indeed. The child support for Kevin is deposited into my account every month. We have contracted through a lawyer that if there is any delay, we will immediately sue. Now in his first year of high school, Kevin is aiming to become a pharmacist and is diligently studying in a college prep class. When I graduate from university, I'll make sure you can relax, Mom. Just wait and see. He said with a smile, earning his own spending money through part-time jobs between his studies. Compared to the days I fretted over Nathan's debts, working to save for his college feels almost enjoyable. Moving forward, I look forward to spending fulfilling days with my kind and reliable son.